I was driving home one day, kind of mulling it over, and when I got home, I turned on the radio, and just as I turned on the radio, there was an ad on the radio for a workshop being given up in New Paltz by a beekeeper about beginning beekeeping, and I thought, I should pay attention to this. Like, I was just thinking about this, and here's this workshop. And then honey, pollen. We had 3 hives go into the winter, and none of them survived. So I went up to Kingston, bought 2 packages, brought them back. And when you have a package of bees, in the center is the queen, and she's suspended in that package in her own little cage. It has screening on it. I took that package, I opened up, took the top off of the empty hive. I gave the box a big shake, banged it down so most of the bees dropped down. I then took the queen out, which with one of the hives got a little bit tricky because the little queen cage had fallen into the box, so I had to reach into the box and find that cage and pull it out. And then I take the queen and put her still in her cage, between 2 of the frames. And then I close everything up and I leave them alone. And the idea is that the queen and her attendants, who are inside the cage, will start chewing through the sugar, while the worker bees will start chewing through. And by the time they meet each other, they've gotten accustomed to each other, and they'll accept this queen as their queen. So what I'm looking for when I go into the hive is a few things. First of all, I'm looking to make sure that I still have a queen, and that the queen is laying eggs and doing her job. There's only 1 queen in the hive, and without her, the hive will collapse. My style, my technique, is I take out 1 frame and I hang it on the back of the hive. And then I take out the next frame, I look at the front, I look at the back, I make a mental note of what I see, and I just keep shifting those frames over. I'm looking for pollen, because they need that to feed to their babies. I'm looking for nectar. They also need that to feed to their babies. But mostly I'm looking for capped brood, which tells me that I had an awesome queen 2 or 3 weeks ago. And then I'm looking for larvae, which tells me I had an awesome queen 3 days ago. And hopefully I'm also finding eggs, which are very hard to spot. But if I do spot them, that tells me that I have an awesome queen who was around a day ago. I have to be very intuitive when I'm working in a hive. I have to trust myself, and I have to be able to read the signals of what I'm seeing, and just that level of focus and attentiveness that I experience when I'm working a hive. So from the honey, we bottle up honey when we can. What we do more is we make a body balm using the wax. So it started out just for myself, and then giving it to a few friends, and it kind of boomed. So we have a small company called Beekeeper. And these are the beacon bees. Ideally, I'm pulling honey in early July, and then again in the late fall, but leaving them at least 1.5 boxes to make it through the winter. And then after the winter, if they didn't need all of that, I can pull that honey. It doesn't go bad. So I'd rather leave them too much over the winter and then take what's left in the spring than not leave them enough. The reward is just kind of being connected to something so fundamentally rooted in nature and learning from it. And every time I go into my hives, I write in my journal, and I became aware that I was writing more, using a pen and paper, observing more. I started learning much more about the things growing in the area. I became much more in tune with what was happening in each season in terms of what was growing, what the weather was like, how much it was raining, how dry it was, because all of those things affect the bees. So I really feel like it kind of brought me much more into to where I am, to where I live.